I'm Jim. We're gonna do some muskrat trapping. And we found a good house. We could tell that it's good based on the fact that there is open water inside. See the rod goes all the way in. That'll go right down to the marsh floor. So these houses have canals, like little tunnels from the bottom, just like a beaver house would, and the muskrats access the interior through that. Yeah, so some equipment we would use muskrat trapping for in-house trapping is we want a marker, piece of lath. I like these fiberglass rods, they're highly visible. You stick it in the house after, you can tie your trap to it, you can see it from anywhere. A good thing to do is to put flagging, make it extra visible, and I like to number mine so that way I know if I've missed one, which would not be that great. So another piece of equipment is obviously this poker rod. I bought this one, you can make them. And then you got some rubber gloves, some good long sleeve ones. That's just for digging in the house. You know, they're full of water, mud, anything a muskrat could have dragged up off the bottom. That's what's inside of them. So it's good to keep your hands clean. It's not the cleanest thing in the world. We need an axe for chopping into the house. We'll cover that next. It's a little bit of a process, but yeah, we'll chop in. We'll see the open area, the room muskrats have in there, and we'll set traps inside of there. Some traps that we would use in a situation like this, we've got a stop-loss leg hold trap. So that's allowed to be used in a drowning situation, which this would be in a house. Or you can use a kill trap, which in this case is a 110 conibear. And that'll kill a muskrat pretty much instantly. So those are some options. So now we're gonna chop the house open. What I like to do is cut a wedge on the house. You can see, kind of draw a line like this here. I'll try to keep that wedge solid so when I peel it out, it doesn't always work, but when I peel it out, then I can put that plug right back in and make it nice so that way it won't freeze back over. The muskrats will still be able to access the house. So we'll start doing that now, and we'll meet back when we've got it open. So in house trapping, there's essentially two different traps you'll use. There's the 110 conibear, which is a kill trap. This is also a legal method of trapping for muskrats. So to set this trap, we're gonna depress the spring. I'm gonna fold the jaws of the trap open. It's a good idea not to keep your hands inside these jaws just in case it ever does go off. So this is the trigger, this is the dog. I like the medium setting. We'll set it there. I like to put it right in the center. That's what it would look like when set. Now this trap is set. So what we do is we'd put this loop onto the stake. We'd set it up in our house, right in the center of the tunnel. So then that way, if a muskrat is walking through the tunnel, he's walking along and he sets it off, that'll kill a muskrat. And then you'll have a dead muskrat right in the house. So you take this trap, you might have to manipulate it a little bit, bend it up. You would put it right in the house, right into the passage. So we'll say that this is like our little tunnel in the house here. We would set it like this in here, make it solid, use your fiberglass rod or wooden lath stake. You'd set this up. And you'd kind of prop it in there. The other option is a stop-loss leg hold. So how this one works, we're gonna take our stop-loss spring, we're gonna fold it back over the main spring of the leg hold trap. This is a long spring trap. There's a long spring and a coil spring. When you hold that there, we're gonna depress this main spring. We're gonna grab the jaws. We're We're gonna fold them down. Now you can hold this trap like this, and you got pretty good security of it, so it won't go off. But you'll make sure you hold it there. The dog of the trap right here, that's essentially what holds the trigger set. So there's this is the pan, and on this pan there is a notch there, and this dog sits right in the notch. So what we'll do is we'll get that in there, and that will set the trap. So you can see that that dog is sitting right in that notch, and that pan is sitting there. So now it's actually set. And then what we'll do is we'll engage our, you don't have to engage this with the trigger, but this is to engage the, it'll fire automatically as soon as the trap goes off if you don't have this in, so it's not a big deal. I like to set it. You put this in here and that'll hold the stop loss closed until something actually goes in there and sets our trap off. So what happens is if a muskrat gets caught, he pulls obviously to go away. He'll pull this and this spring will fire and hold the body away from the trap itself, making sure that he can't get out. So we've got our, we'll say that this is in the house, we've got our trap set here. I'm gonna use this. Trap set, it's in the tunnel where the muskrats mill around in the house. Muskrat comes walking around, he steps on this, and that fires the trap. What's gonna happen is he's gonna pull to go down the water. The first thing they'll do is try to go for water. They think it's safe down there. So it's staked down, he'll pull, and that'll engage the stop loss, and that'll hold the muskrat away from the trap. He'll go down into the water where weight of the trap will take him down. He won't be able to come back up and he'll drown. One thing I'll say too is it's important to have a longer wire on the stop loss traps, for that way when they do go down to water, they can actually get down and they're not in the house somewhere potentially alive. So I've got this secured to my stake, that way he can't get away with the trap, he's caught. So you'd have your set trap, we'd put it down in the hole. There's got a nice little pad. Sometimes you gotta clean up the house a little bit to get that pad nice and flat. So in this case, that's what I did. Got the pad nice and flat, the trap is down in there. We've got our wire, good long length. We set it so that way he can pull it out. Set our stake right in the center. You don't want anything falling in there. A good thing to use is reeds. We can use them as framing for closing this house back up. So, block it out. This is just to make sure a bunch of stuff doesn't fall in on your trap while it's set. So now we'll use some of the bigger blocks and kind of get it closed in. And it's important to pack it well, because you don't want this freezing overnight. You want this open so the muskrats come and use it. So we'll finish packing it up here, and then hopefully the next day we'll come back and there'll be a muskrat in there. Okay, so we're back the next day. We're gonna check our muskrat house and hopefully we got a muskrat in there. We set this yesterday and we sealed it up, so we'll see what happens today. So first thing we'll do is we'll open up our house. Sometimes it might be frozen a little bit, it's been pretty warm, so we'll just kind of take our axe and use it as a shovel a little bit. Just peel this away. So we've got it opened up again. We're gonna check to see if anything's in there. Can't see anything, can't see the trap, so that's a good sign. And we'll reach down in and grab the wire. Pull it up. And we've caught a muskrat in here. So we'll take him out of the trap. Sometimes they're pretty muddy and stuff, so what I like to do is I like to take a little bit of snow, and that'll just clean them right up. And then that's what a muskrat would look like. That's what we're after here in the houses. So we would take this home after our day of checking all the traps and we'd skin it out. You can skin it and then kind of roll the hide up and freeze it, or you can put it on the stretcher that day and stretch it and dry it. They're quite amazing little critters. They kind of do, some people would think that they maybe look gross with the rat tail. That's why they get the name muskrat. And the musk part comes because they have scent glands in them. So then muskrat is because of the tail and the scent glands. They've got webbed feet and they've got teeth just like a beaver. I don't know if you can see, oh yeah, we can see them in this one here. You can see the beaver teeth there. we'd have our muskrat there. Now we would take our trap and we would reset it and do it all over again until we decide that we're done trapping once the weather starts breaking too much and you can't really come out on the ice. Sometimes these houses, you'll catch enough rats in them and that it'll start slowing down, you won't catch them. Other houses will start opening up and then you can just move to those ones. Usually I set up about 100 traps, depending on an area. Sometimes it might only be a dozen, sometimes it might be 30. But I like to run about 100 and that gives you about a 30% success rate. Sometimes I'll use a GPS or an app like iHunter is great. You can put pins down, you'll know exactly where you're going, it'll mark your trail. That's one reason I like to number my stakes. And then that way if you're going along your sets, you usually you get a little trail set down, you kind of go in an order. You come across, all of a sudden you've got, say you're at 31, then you come up to 33 that you know you've missed 32, you can go back and get it. That way you don't miss any or forget anything. Sometimes when you have a lot of traps out, it's hard to remember where they all are. So numbering them using a GPS or an app like iHunter is a great way to do it. So we're out here, we're more on the main marsh. You can see it's a lot more open area. Mostly houses will be kind of on the edges, a little bit in the reeds and the cattails. A lot of times muskrats will den in the banks and then they'll go to houses along the edges. One thing they use to get in between those areas under the water is called a push-up. And you can see we have a bit of vegetation kind of on top of the ice here. Coyotes, you can see coyotes are using it. They can't see great distances, so any kind of structure they can get themselves up on, they'll use to look further. So that's a popular way to find a push-up, unless you can see some of the vegetation there. And all it is vegetation off the bottom. They've pulled in and mounded up just so they can, a little air pocket for them to keep swimming to wherever their other destination is. So we'll check it. You can see it's all ice all around it. And then it's right down the water. So they've got an open cavern in there. They just stick their head into, they don't come up into it. They just stick their head up, breathe, and then continue on where they're going. It's a little bit more difficult to trap. You can chop it open and put a 110 there, and hopefully when they come up into the hole, you'll catch them as they come up through it. But for a drowning set with leg holes, it's very difficult, not that effective. So it's best almost to not even chop them open, just chop houses. So, but you can tell there's muskrats in the area. It's a good sign.